Hello, my name is Hanna Lynn Roth. I am your host on this segment of Our Ventura TV. With me is my guest, Michael Berry, co-founder of the channel Islands Wildlife Tracking Team. Hi, Michael. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, Hannah. Thank you for having me on the show. I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, no problem. And tell me about how your tracking team got started.
Well, originally, my wife, who worked for one of the federal agencies, she was working on a project for the South Coast Wildland Linkages project. And she was looking for a lot of the research that kind of goes with it, as well as the animals that are moving through a lot of the linkages. And there wasn't a lot that we could find. So she decided that maybe we should take an interest in tracking.
And explain linkages for me.
It's more of like a wildlife corridor. And these wildlife corridors connect other habitats so that animals can move through them freely. With the urbanization and a lot of habitat loss that we have now, there's a lot of this linkage problems when now the animals are having difficulty moving between, say, parks or Forest Service land or Park Service land. So they need to have these linkages to keep them out of the public's eye so they can move freely without themselves getting hurt as well as other people coming in contact with them.
So that way when we see these wild animals going through our urbanization, that's the linkage. We have to.
Well, we'll take natural areas like a stream or a river.
Okay.
We try not to develop any part of those so that it gives them free access to run between them. There are other areas that you can use, but a lot of it is already being developed, so it's really hard for the animals to really do that. And so that's why we see a lot more animals coming into urban environments, because they don't have those linkages. So we're just trying to make it more accessible to them and try to find places where they can actually travel, and then our tracking actually helps that with the information and the data.
Okay, very good. So you're developing those areas out in the habitats already by doing this tracking.
We actually are working with a lot of organizations. CSUCI, Sean Anderson, we work with him. He has his own sort of his application, which is called the Splatter Spotter, which is kind of neat because it deals with roadkill data.
Oh.
Now he developed this program because he was seeing a lot of animals dying on the side of the road.
Right.
Well, animals have to cross the roads because they have no other option to cross the road. So these linkages help to build these wildlife corridors, which these animals can travel under the freeways or highways, or they can go through culverts, but they need a place to go. So Sean Anderson now has this data where you can plug it in, you'll see this animal on the side of the road, and it'll tell you what it is, what area.
Oh, wow.
And the data goes to him, and then he plugs it in, and then we use our tracking data along with his data, so that now we can develop a program or an area to show where there's a lot of death with the animals. So in this process, we can determine where the best places to put a wildlife corridor or where we need to do a study. Caltrans has been trying to do this for a while now too. They have their own sort of research that goes along with new projects. And whenever they put in new culverts or roadways or bridges, they like to do at least a 6-month study with their biologist and then do a sort of a animal tracking type of data where they can kind of watches with their cameras as well as the physical tracking that actually happens with this kind of stuff.
Okay. And did you say that, I think you mentioned earlier that this is like an app?
Yeah, it's a free app that you can go on the iPhone or the Droid, and you can pick it up. It's pretty simple.
What is it called?
It's the Splatter Spotter.
The Splatter Spotter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Literally.
So on the side of the road, if you see a dead animal, you can get out the Splatter Spotter.
Exactly. Punch it in.
Punch it in, and then it just will scan it and
it'll email it. It'll email it to Sean, and his students will input the data.
Oh, wow.
So it's pretty cool
stuff.
That's
a really cool way to raise your awareness on that.
Yeah. So Sean is actually part of our initial team, and he helps us to find places where we can go and do this kind of tracking, best for us and for the county. So, but basically our tracking team, we started in August of 2011, and we're just basically a bunch of volunteers and citizen scientists.
That's great.
We love having volunteers. We love having people that love nature as well as want to learn a really cool skill. I mean, it's always a really neat thing to go walking down a trail and be able to go, wow, that's a coyote or that's a bobcat,
Yeah, and it's totally different to just learn about something and then to actually go out and see it and be in the environment itself and be able to touch and feel and smell everything.
Definitely applied is the way to do it. There's a way to learn in the classroom, and you know, we actually have training that we do for our volunteers, and we actually will have our PowerPoints, but we also like to use books. So we have animal tracking books that we use with Mark Elbrock, and so we have a mammal tracking book.
Okay. And that would be?
So this will show you, you know, we actually prefer this Mark Elbrock. He started with Cyber Tracker, which is an organization that actually learned tracking from the African trackers and brought it over here to the United States. And Cyber Tracker is actually a certified tracking system to where you can actually learn and get tested and get certified as an actual tracker. So this should carry basically all the North American species that we'll have. He just came out with a California book, so this last year, so that's another great one that I've been kind of looking at.
Okay, so this one's like Northern America, and there is a more specialized one for California itself.
Which is really nice because there's so many critters that are out there. Also, we like to look at birds. Birds are pretty difficult when you're first starting out. It can be intimidating, but we actually have a field manual for that. Mark Elbrock does, and he does a really good job of interpreting a lot of these birds. Now, sparrows can get kind of difficult, which is kind of crazy because sparrows are all within an inch, and they're
all within an inch in size.
They're just really small in length, and
oh my gosh.
So it's really hard to tell whether or not it's, say, a white-crowned sparrow or a song sparrow, unless you physically see them. But if you can identify a sparrow, that's really nice. But it gets really tough when it comes to the birds.
Right, and so this book would explain the differences between them.
Most of them, yeah.
And you go over that with the students, or with people
the volunteers
who come in and want to go out and find these animals with you. You educate them first, give them some basic knowledge, and then you go out and you apply it.
Correct.
Very good.
So we do have pretty much a class every month, and one every 3 months will be in the field as well as a partial classroom. So that way you can kind of get inside and see the set down of the actual tracks in the book form, as well as kind of a classroom atmosphere where you can kind of get out too, and then take that classroom experience and then apply it in the field right after your little classroom experience.
Excellent. I think that most studies should be done that way.
Yeah. No, definitely where the rubber meets the road is where you want to learn, and we call it a dirt time. Because you get down in the dirt, you're really looking at tracks. That's the only way you can really learn, and when you really do that, you really get to find out more about the animal. You get to see their behaviors, and each track actually tells a story.
Oh, that's cool.
It's really interesting to see. If you look at your own movements and place your hands out, and you think about when you move to the left or you move to the right, you shift. Animals do the same thing. So if we're looking at a coyote track and he's walking along,
right,
and he stops,
okay,
and he turns to look at something,
oh,
we know he just stopped for a reason. What is he looking at? Is he looking at a rabbit hole? Is he looking at a gopher? Coyotes, they like to conserve their metabolism, their energy. So if they stop to do something, there's a reason why they did it. Like I said, it's their story. The only time they'll really kind of wander off is basic curiosity. But for the most part, everything has a reason. They don't waste energy on it. And animals all kind of do the same thing. So they have this thing that we call gaits. And a gait is how the animal moves. Okay. So if it's walking, if it's an understep walk, an overstep walk, dogs do a side trot because their legs are longer in the back. So when they pick up pace, they have to throw their rear out. And if you guys ever watch your dogs, it's kind of funny, you'll see this. They look kind of cockeyed, they're off to the side. So their front feet are over here and their rear feet are over there.
So they're not just being that happy, floppy dog.
Right,
Everybody
it's
loves
because they'll keep stepping on their toes if they don't kick their rear out a little bit.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
So you can see that side trot, so you know that dog's picking up pace.
So if you see, okay, so the faster they go, the more slanted it's going to be?
Well, that's only the side trot. Now, if they go into a lope or a gallop, they're actually going really fast. And if you see the animals, I'm sure we've all seen it on a wildlife show, When they go fast, they really start to reach out because they're really galloping now. So they're pulling themselves out. And this is the animal. They extend themselves and they start arching their backs. And as they go faster, their tracks get longer as well as narrower.
Okay.
So we can look at that, and normally it's a front, hind, front, hind, front, hind, front, hind when they're on a stroll or a walk. And when they really start moving, they're reaching out, so it's going to be a front, front. And they come over with their rear, rear. Because now they're really moving, and they're really far apart now.
All right, so it has that order: front, front, rear, rear, front.
And
front,
that depends.
rear,
That depends on the animal.
Okay.
Skunks are funny. They have a hop when they walk. So we call it the 1-2-1 pattern. So they'll have front, front, rear, rear.
So these are all like little dances, basically. You get to kind of figure
yeah,
out.
everyone has their own walk. So you think about a weasel. A weasel's really long. You know, you're not going to think of these little legs walking along, and they're going to fold themselves up like a caterpillar. So when they come up, they're going to fold, so their rear feet will land right on top of their front feet, and they'll fold out like an accordion again.
Really?
It's really crazy to see them move.
Wow. So that's something you really would have to go out and just see for yourself.
Right, and they have the cutest little toes. I'm sorry, but they are. they make this nice little toe patterns, and when you see a weasel track, you just go, oh wow, because you can actually physically now, if you've seen a weasel in a picture, you can see this little weasel, and our long-tailed weasels here are really cool-looking weasels, and they're very curious. Initially, they'll hide from you, but then they'll try to take an interest, and they'll pop out of their holes, and they'll stare at you for a while. So they're really neat creatures. So.
Okay, cool. And I know you brought a quick demonstration. So let me see, you have a coyote dog to go along with what we were just talking about.
A couple things that people are always asking is the difference between dogs and the mountain lions. A lot of people like to think, well, they get the mountain lion wrong with the dog. And dog tracks can vary from, little tiny chihuahuas to these really big tracks. And those big tracks are usually misconstrued as mountain lion tracks. And the one thing you want to look at for a dog is basically their tracks are very symmetrical. So if you drew a line straight down the middle, the left is going to equal the right. It's going to be an exact mirror match.
Okay.
And the one thing that you can always tell with a dog is you can take an X and draw it across the top pad in between these toes. Now, cats, you can't do that. Cats make a C formation. So if you try to draw that across there, you'd hit the pad.
Oh, huh.
And the two big differences between a coyote and a dog, just so you can tell. Domestic dogs always show their claws. They're not running all the time. Coyotes, they're always on the move, so they're always wearing down their nails. So you'll almost never see their nails.
Okay, wow, that's really interesting. And so, yeah, everyone should find out more about this, I think.
Definitely.
It's the world around us. And is there a way that people could get a hold of you and get more information on this tracking team? You
can get a hold of us via email at ci.trackingteam@gmail.com or our Facebook page, which is the Channel Islands Tracking Team. And if you'd like to register for classes that we have once a month, it's at the westerntrackinginstitute.com, which is affiliated with the San Diego Tracking Team and Barry Martin, who actually got us started with the Cyber Tracker and our certification programs. Okay. So, yeah, any volunteers that we can have and to learn this skill is always a great thing to have. And please bring your kids along. It's great. It really is awesome to see a child get involved in this. And not only do we actually teach tracking, but we also teach birding and botany along with it. So you can come out and learn a few more things.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Michael.
Thank you, Hannah. Appreciate it.
It was a pleasure having you.
Yeah, definitely.
All right. My name is Hanna Lynn Roth, and thank you very much for tuning into this segment of Our Ventura TV.